The U.S. government is going to partially shut down in 2 weeks, and there is no funding deal in Congress to keep it open. And the reality is, lawmakers are only working in Washington, D.C. for 4 days between now and then. Yeah, you heard me. I'm going to show you why that is in a second, and I'm also going to address those of you who I know are already getting ready to type, "Good, shut it all down." That statement is not doing what you think it's doing. I'll explain that in a second as well. So first, to the timing. I know you're going to say, "But Lisa, there are 13 days between now and March 1st, which is the first day of the partial government shutdown." And you are absolutely correct. That is true. But you also have to take into account the House and the Senate's recess calendar. Let me show you. So here we are on February 17th, and you can see in just less than 2 weeks, right here on March 1st, part of the U.S. government is scheduled to shut down. The Senate has been on recess all this current week, and they will be on recess all week next week. They will be returning to Washington, D.C. on February 26th, and they will be here. So these 4 days are the 4 days that the Senate will have to get something done to avoid the government shutdown here on March 1st. But now the House is on recess, and they will be gone all next week as well. They will not be returning to Washington, D.C. until the 28th. So they will only have 2 days to get something done to avoid the government shutdown on the 1st. So you can see, based on the recess calendar, there are only 2 days right here, the 28th and the 29th of February, when both the House and the Senate are in Washington, D.C. and working and could potentially pass a piece of legislation to avoid the government shutdown on the 1st. Now, of course, the recess calendar can change, but at this moment in time, there are no plans for that. As for what's happening with the actual budget negotiations to avoid this government shutdown, generally, we're looking at the possibility of a $1.7 trillion federal budget. But it's how that money is going to be spent that's causing all these disagreements and delays between lawmakers and holding everything up. Whether they're close to a deal or not is very unclear. But what is clear, there is no solid deal today that would avoid the first part of the government shutdown on March 1st and the second part of it that is scheduled for March 8th. And the facts are this: lawmakers are now gone from Capitol Hill, and when they return, the House Speaker will only have a 2-vote Republican margin to spare. So it is likely that he is going to have to get Democrats to help him pass whatever bill he puts on the floor to avoid a government shutdown, which is, of course, going to piss off his far-right Republican colleagues. Lastly, I want to address this idea that I keep seeing in the comments. People that keep saying things like, "Good, shut down the government." I want you to understand, the government shutting down does not change anything. It does not stop the government from operating the way it's been operating. It does not hurt lawmakers. It does not make them change the way they spend money. It also does not hurt the president. The only people who actually get hurt in a government shutdown are our military members who may not be paid. It hurts the nearly 3 million federal workers who are just trying to do their jobs. And it hurts the Americans who rely on federal services. The fact is, when the government reopens, money just keeps being spent the way it's always been spent. Nothing changes. So like I said at the beginning of this video, that "good, shut it all down" comment isn't doing what you think it's doing.